All right, welcome back to Beyond the Court with League One Volleyball, where we deep dive with some of the top coaches and leaders in volleyball and beyond. I'm your host, Courtney Thompson, and I'm so grateful to be in this with you. We all know that great coaches challenge us to be the best we can be in every area of our game, while also imparting lessons that go far beyond the court. And today we're really lucky to be joined by Dr. Michael Gervais, who's one of the world-leading high-performance psychologists, whose influence has spanned almost across every sport you can think of, as well as music and business alike. Dr. Mike has worked with Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks, Daredevil spaceman Felix Baumgartner, and beach volleyball Olympic gold medalist Kerry Walsh. On top of that, he is the host of a very popular Finding Mastery podcast, where he dives into the minds of the world's greatest athletes, leaders, thinkers, and doers. Mike, I am so excited to spend this hour with you. Man, you and I have shared so many experiences, from the USA team to Finding Mastery for 8 years and a lot of life in between. So really grateful to have you on. Thank you for being here.
When I saw the request, I was like, oh, this is going to be a special one. And so, I don't think I've ever told you this, but my favorite picture from the Rio Games was the one that you and I just kind of quickly did at the end of the medal ceremony, where you had the flag and kind of wrapped it around us. It was my favorite picture from Rio. So we've had a lot of fun, meaningful experiences, and there's a similar passion around how the mind works for both of us. So I'm stoked to be here with you.
I know. I actually don't have that photo. I'm going to need to grab that. I was like, how has this not been our intro slide for years? But So just to level set, where are you calling in from today, and how have you been?
We are at the Mastery Lab, the Finding Mastery Lab in the South Bay of Los Angeles, specifically El Segundo. And we're doing great. I've been great. I think I know what time zone it is, so that's a good thing. And there's been a bunch of international travel, which I thought I was going to be able to kind of put a bow in that in the last handful of years, and it just ticked up a little bit.
Seems like it. You guys are everywhere, which is exciting and also challenging. But before we really dive in, Mike, I know I've heard your story. This is kind of an open question, but can you just catch us up a little bit on how you got to where you are in your career?
Certainly. So I'll start backwards just to give a framing, and then go to the beginning. Is that present day, by trade, by training, I'm a sport and performance psychologist, and I'm fortunate to work with some of the best in the world across multiple disciplines, across a bunch of different verticals, both in business and the arts and sport, of course. And when I was 15 years old, I'm going to go way back, I was a good little surfer. I'm careful to say that, publicly, because there's great little surfers in the world. I was good. I was good. And there's two types of surfing. There's free surfing and there's competitive surfing. And free surfing is when you go put yourself in a consequential environment on a consequential wave, or whatever the wave is, and you never ask if anyone saw it. It's irrelevant. It's about the knowing. It's about the experience. It's about navigating that moment of consequence. And it was pure. And then there's competition surfing, where there's people on the beach, they're judges and critics and fans and friends and family, and there's that thing. And I could do it in the free surfing. But as soon as I would try to do my best in competitive surfing, it was like I couldn't access 40% of what I knew I could do.
Yeah.
I was too nervous. I was anxious. I was tight. I was up in my head. I had no feel or touch. And I'll never forget, it was a competition moment. There was only 3 of us in the water. It was beautiful, glassy conditions. There was about head high or so. And what ended up taking place is the senior competitor paddled by me, and he said to me, "Gervais, I surf with you all the time, and you got to stop worrying about what all the people are thinking about you and all the things that could go wrong. Get a hold of yourself." And so I thought, how does he know? How did he know what's in my head? Yeah. And sure enough, He was so, he was bang on. So he didn't tell me what to do, but what he did do is he gave me this little moment of awareness. So I thought to myself, okay, if worrying about all the things that could go wrong is not working, why don't I think about the things that could go well? So I sat as a 15-year-old kid would do on my surfboard, beautiful conditions, and I started using my imagination for what I wanted. And before I knew it, I was in a completely different body. And I felt like I was back. And I thought, what is this? Like, what just happened? My physical skills didn't change from yesterday. My technical skills didn't evaporate from yesterday. Like, what is this mental thing? And then it kind of set me down this path. I've got to understand what just happened. And I took it as far as I could with formal education. And then I got to work with people like you. And then, it's been an awesome working laboratory. How humans operate in high stress environments has so much to teach us. They have so much to teach us about how we can all be just a little bit better at the things that matter most to us.
Well, first of all, I just watched the series on, I forget what platform it's on, of the Hawaiian surfers. Have you seen that? The female surfers?
Mm-hmm. I have.
Oh my gosh. So I've heard you kind of share this lens and how you got into this several times at work. And so I was like, oh yeah, I see it. And then I'm watching this just all in my feelings. And I was like, wow, I get it. It was, and the intensity of like real danger and all the layers to that.
It's like super concrete, right? When you see a wave of consequence or like something that's physically dangerous.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, that's amazing for them. However, what we know about the brain, 400, 200,000 years old brain that's sitting in our skull, it hasn't changed that much. And the same mechanisms that take place when we are running from a wildebeest or a warring tribe or, a nasty look from an elder, like all of that kind of fight, flight, freeze stuff that comes up happens in physically consequential environments and also happens in socially and emotionally moments of consequence, like walking out and performing in front of your friends, like whether it's volleyball, surfing, or, whatever it might be. So your experiences are no different really internally than those gals or anyone that's really doing something in a dangerous environment. It feels oddly enough the same.
It's so beautifully inconvenient.
Oh, I know, isn't it? Yeah. You work so hard to be technically and physically like so solid. And if you don't do the internal psychological skills work, there's only 3 things we can train, as you and I have talked about a lot. You can train physical, technical, and mental skills. And if you only train physical and technical skills, you're kind of leaving it up to a great percentage of chance of how things will go when game time happens or when tryouts happen or when, pitching an executive, idea to a funder, whatever it might be. You're leaving so much up to chance if you don't know how your mind works in those environments.
I felt, when you first walked into the USA gym, we had just won a silver medal and we're trying to shift our culture. And I'll never forget you asking, it changed my life, certainly in many ways, but asking, hey, how many of you formally trained your mind? And it was like all of us looking around going, what the hell is he even talking about? Like, what constitutes as training your mind? And there, years later, there's so much freedom in having a beautiful relationship with your inner experience, and not that it's always like, yeah, we got it. We got it figured out. There's this humility to it all because it's challenging.
Courtney, I remember that moment. Like it's cool that moment became a bit of a lightning bolt for you. And I remember like the room. Now these are the 25 best female volleyball players on the planet. And I remember them looking around like, well, what is that? And then do you remember what I said afterwards? I don't know if you remember it.
I believe it was something like there's so much more.
No. Okay. So that was later. So the next thing I said, oh, okay. So we're confused on what it is. I said, if I were to ask you if you physically trained, in a formal way, like done physical training in a formal way, everyone's like, oh yeah, I get it. And then I was like, but the fact that you don't know what formal mental training is means that you're probably doing it, I don't know, at best in an amateur way. And so there's just, and then to the point is like, imagine this. Imagine how good you are. And you haven't even really done formal mental training. Imagine what's on the other side of dialing in your mind, your mental skills, your mental approach, your ability to deal with mistakes, your ability to be a better teammate, to handle high heat, high pressure moments, to use your imagination, to have confidence. We could just take confidence off the table because we know how to generate it. It's not like I don't know what to do. I'm not feeling confident. Confidence is trainable. And so we could just take it off the table if you get it right.
Getting all fired up already. Mike,
That's why we love you, Court.
Yeah,
I know.
For the folks that are listening and they're like, man, I'm like right there. I want more. Where are like a few places they could go? I know you wrote a book that's incredible.
Thank you.
We have a course. You have a course at Finding Mastery, but where would you point people?
You're actually in the course. You're right. We have a course. You're actually okay. So a couple places. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
If you know that there's more inside you, if you really want to make a commitment to being your very best, the places that I would point to first and foremost is get part of a community that has that same type of vibe. And I love our community, Courtney, the Finding Mastery community. Like, I just make it simple. Go over to findingmastery.com/podcast, and you be part of like conversations like this one, that would support probably every conversation you're having on your podcast as well, but it's just specifically dialing in to how the best in the world train their mind. So that's one. There's a simple little practice that we developed that we love giving away. It's a morning mindset routine. And that's probably a good one. What do you think? Like, if people email us or they go to the website, again, findingmastery.com/morning mindset, it's a 4-step process in the morning that you can do somewhere under 90 seconds to train your mind, in a kind of thin sliced way, like a little bit of a little mini mental training before you even get out of bed, just to give yourself kind of a chance throughout the day. So I think that's a nice one. And then you mentioned the book. It's called The First Rule of Mastery. And it really is about what I think is, it's all theory at this point, but the theory is, what is the greatest constrictor of human potential, of my potential, is this excessive worry about what all the others around us think about us. And come to find, after 25 years working with world's best, like that, unfortunately, is one of the greatest, I'll use the word constrictors again, that gets in the way of us getting free and getting after it on a consistent basis. So we just went into the science of that, and what are some best practices to train your mind. And I'd start there. Those are some good ones.
Can you share a moment or a story of when you have felt like really fulfilled at work?
Okay, so context first is that I'm going to go to the Seattle Seahawks. So I was at the Seattle Seahawks for 9 seasons. And in the first 4 seasons, we got to 2 Super Bowls. And that's pretty extraordinary. We won one in dramatic fashion, as you well remember. And we lost one in dramatic fashion too. Last second, ripped right underneath of us. And so when I was with the Seahawks, one of the practices that I would do with the coaches, which I just loved, is that we would compete with each other to see how many moments of awe we could have throughout the day. So it was this friendly competition between 2 people. And at the end of the day, we'd either text or see each other in the hallway, and we'd keep a tally of how many moments we had where our hair would stand up, or so kind of in love or fired up or in awe of like what's happening. So it's a forcing function for you to be really present and almost like give yourself to the unknowing about what's to take place and love all of that, which is a great capability for all humans, especially competitors. And so we keep tally. And I think you and I have done this. Did we? Yeah, we would compete too, And so I love, that's a really fun function to help me be more tuned to just how amazing life is. And so I think that I'm not sure that's exactly what you're looking for, but that's the story that comes up for me.
It's actually how I experience you too, where you've done so many. Someone from the outside can see it and go, "Wow, you've done a lot of shit." And you've been on many platforms, yeah, of intensity and incredible projects, and you finding beautiful moments like just here and now, and
Yeah.
to me that's a big part of your essence, so that makes sense.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Thank you.
One of the lessons I don't think I'll ever forget this, but as we mentioned, I've worked with Finding Mastery for 8 years, and I have left the company twice. One to coach at Stanford, that was short lived. I came back, and then another time to take a shot at League One volleyball, where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And both times, it was this moment where our company was growing. We were looking for more coaches. We didn't have that many.
Wait, the Finding Mastery was growing,
Yes.
right? Yes. Yeah.
And I was admittedly nervous to tell you that, hey, I love what we do. I love working with you, and I want to go do this thing. And how you responded to me in both moments was with curiosity, excitement, and I'll never forget you saying like, "Hey, go do it! Like that's so great, and you always have a home here."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That gives me like a feeling in my throat.
Yeah.
Like just yeah. I'm stoked that you felt that.
And I want to ask you though specifically,
Yeah.
like, I think there are all these moments where if you're coaching club and you've trained this kid and they choose to go somewhere else, or you're a parent and these moments happen, I want to learn from you, like, what are you anchored to in those moments?
Oh, all right. That's cool. So one is like, and I'll sweeten this up a little bit,
Cool.
which is just think about Finding Mastery, how much as a company we poured into you
Yeah.
so that you could be great, training mental skills for whoever the community that brings us in, like, and so we're pouring into you, and if you leave, like that return on investment is like kind of short-lived.
Totally.
And so I'm magnifying the intensity so that it's not like whatever. And Courtney, you're really special. So there's like a double loss. Like I've put a bunch of my chips, on your table, and I'm like, yeah, you're amazing. So amazing is leaving, and with all the chips. So
I was kind of waiting for you to say, well, you weren't that good at the job, so it was pretty easy.
Right. No,
Thank you.
It was simple. So it's like I'm just kind of making it a little bit more intense on like how it actually was happening. But there's a grounding, a more primary principle that I operate from, and I didn't have a name for it until maybe 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's a Maorian word called whakapapa. It's spelled wakapapa. Okay.
All right.
And so wakapapa, for us Westerners, is this idea that from the beginning of time to the end of time is kind of like sun up to sundown. From the beginning of your life and the beginning and the end of my life is kind of like sun up to sundown. So we're sharing time under the sun together. And I don't know if it's going to be just a little bit of time or it's going to be like half a day, which would be something like my wife and I have been together 35 years. It's like, like half of our lives, not half. That's a little bit better than half at this point. That's like 2/3 of my life. So that's a lot of time under the sun, right? And I love that framing because one, I don't know if the people that I love are going to die tomorrow. I don't know if they're going to take a new job. I don't know any of these. So my job is to imagine if this wakapapa idea that we're going to have some time under the sun together. And if I feel like I've been honest and earnest and really given to be the best teammate I know how to be to my people, then when they are ready to go adventure somewhere else, like awesome, like our time under the sun was great. And it doesn't mean that you and I don't have this moment or other kind of, it doesn't shape shift in some kind of way. But so my grandmother died. And when my grandmother died, I had the feeling, I wish I would have spent more time. And that actually wasn't the case. I wish I was more tuned in with the time. Like I did good time with my grandmother. I just wish I was a little bit more tuned in. And so that helped sharpen me, like, hey, be more tuned. So give more, pour into people and love their adventure and support them, to follow what their heart wants, what their mind is telling them to do, and be a great teammate. Because that's what I want for me. When people say, hey, while we're together, I'm in it with you. Let's go. I want to help you be great. And when it's time, if it is, whenever it is, like, I still got your back. It just takes a different shape. So anyways, I think that's what a great club coach could do as well. And I don't see that. I'll tell my son's in volleyball.
Right.
I do not see that. I see a mindset of scarcity. I see an us versus them. I see it's more about the club. It's more about the win-loss record than it is about the growth of the kid and, the life experience of the kid. And that's not for all coaches. And I say that, I think 99% of coaches go, yeah, tell them, Mike, because that's not me.
Sure.
I go, oh, yeah. If I could record, some of the coaches and what they've said to my 15-year-old son. I had to tell one coach recently, I don't say anything to coaches. So it was after season. Like I am aware of kind of like how I show up in those environments, being able to work with the Olympic team. And so I'm super aware, and I'm at the end of the bench and I'm not saying anything. And, so it was after the season, the coach asked me, hey, can I get a few minutes with you? I said, absolutely. And he said, do you have any feedback for me? I said, I have a lot.
Oh God. That's awesome. Yes, I do. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, God. I said, I said, I'd love to give it to you. And but I'm not sure in the parking lot is the right time. I said, if you really, really do want my feedback, all of it, I'm happy to share it with you. Let's just schedule a time. And he said, yeah, let's do that. He said, but do you have anything right now? I said, yeah, I have something right now for you. Because I knew he wasn't going to.
Interesting.
He didn't ask all year.
Wow. Yeah.
So now you want to ask? Okay. So that's fine. So he wanted just something right now. And I said, I'm really glad that Grayson, my son's name, has parents that understand psychology. I'm really glad for him. And I worry about the kids that don't have parents that are trained formally in psychology. I'm actually really worried. And he looked at me like, that's not what I expected.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'd love to have more of this with you. He never called, by the way. It's okay. Yeah, he never called. But so anyways, look, I want to speak. Can I speak right to the coaches for a minute?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. I know how much you want to help. You give so much. It's not about money. It's not about all these other external things. I know how much you want to help. There's a care, there's a commitment, there's a standard that you're helping our kids understand. I am so grateful for the amount of time and the commitment you've made to helping my son and sons and daughters across the country to be better. And you give what you have. And so I'm looking right at you to say, keep investing in what you want. Keep investing in yourself, what you want to give to others. Oof. And they are there not to win. They might say it. That's not why they're there. Yes, everyone loves to be part of a winning team. Okay, cool. That's not why they're in youth sport. It's to figure out how they fit. It's to figure out if they're okay. It's to figure out how to strain. It's to figure out how to make a mistake and come right back. It's to figure out how to be a great teammate when it's hard. It's figure out how to be on the bench sometimes, how to start sometimes, how to blow it, how to have a game winner. Oh, yeah. They're there for the inner experience far more than the technical keep your elbow high. Now, yes, we got to talk about keeping your elbow high. Yes, we got to talk about getting a whip. Yes, we got to talk about a big hand on serve. We got to do all that stuff.
Hey, you're getting it right. I see you.
Hey, you taught me well. and I just want to remember that these 17-year-olds, whatever they are, they want to know that they matter. Yeah. They want to belong to something. And that is primal. And if you base the belonging or the attention or the way that you speak to them with frustration without repair, with anxiety without calm, with vitriol sometimes, without love, if you don't counterbalance when you get a little off center, if you don't counterbalance it, by repairing and coming back around and saying, hey kid, I kind of lost my cool. I'm so sorry. I want to be better for you. How was that for you? And the kid says, oh, I was good. Now you got to believe them or not, Yeah. And so it's the relationship. And so the relationship is it runs the world. Relationships run the whole flipping planet.
Yeah.
And so your relationship with yourself, coach, is where it starts. Please, like, if you want to be great, if you want to have the great life for yourself and others, like, make a commitment to have a great relationship with yourself. Study your own mind. Study your psychology. That's what psychology is, the study of self. Study how your thoughts work. Study how those thoughts impact your emotions. Study how you can cultivate a feeling of being fully connected and alive, even when at one point in your life it was like overwhelming. Study how to help others with their thoughts and their emotions. And yes, the technical thing, is cool. But the next level of coaching, the greatest coaches, when I think of the coaches that really helped me, they saw me, they invested in the relationship, they held a standard, and I knew that I mattered more than being able to, have a whip at game point. It was not, that's cool, we'll jump up and down together, but it was so much more than that. And so, come on, coaches, we need you. Our kids are thrashing right now. You spend more time with my son than I do per week. I get the weekends. Wild. Okay, coaches, our kids are thrashing. Anxiety's on the rise, depression's on the rise, suicide's on the rise, addiction's on the rise. The loneliest segment of the population used to be 65 and older. Yeah. It's now 14 to 22. The loneliest segment in the US population is 14 to 22, the kids you're coaching. And you say, not my kids. Yeah. Show them that they matter. Beyond performance. Show them that they're part of something. Show them that because they breathe. Love them up, And so I'm scared for our kids. And coaches have one of the greatest privileges in their lives. And so when I knew that you were going to League One, I was like, awesome. Like maybe our entire nation's kids are going to be a little bit better because the Courtney Thompson's going to be able to show them the way.
It's so true that the struggle and coaches are coming from this place, but I love how you said that. And one of the things I think you do incredibly well is, we talk about high-level coaching, support and then challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm a recovering people pleaser, you might have noticed. And what you have taught me, and I'm continue to try to bring this into my life, is that you're not afraid to challenge people. And when you used to say the most loving thing you can do, I'm paraphrasing here, is for the people that you truly love, is to let them sit in their pain and not fix it. And man, when you care about someone, God, you just want to fix it. Or if you cause the pain. And I'm thinking of all of these kids suffering and thriving, but we want to help them be in discomfort and like have the agency to get out of it. And to be aligned in it. So can you just teach us a little bit of like, how do you toggle between loving people hard and also letting them sit in their own challenge?
It's a cool question. So I think let's imagine one of your coaches that you had that, really wasn't very skilled at any of the psychological skills. And there's 5 skills, right? How many technical skills are? Big hand, high elbow,
4 to 5 keys for each skill, probably.
Yeah. So call it 20 technical skills. There's like 5 to 7 mental skills. I think that that's a cool thing, not a very heavy lift for modern coaches to know what those are and then to fold those in to the rhythm of practice. So it's not psychotherapy because you are sad or depressed. And listen, I'm a classically trained psychologist, so I'm not belittling any of that. But that's not what mental skills training from a coach's perspective can do. They can, just like they know the 4 to 5 technical skills per whatever, they can also know the handful of mental skills and fold it into practice. So, okay, why am I setting that up first? Is that not all coaches are going to have an appetite for like I don't know, warmth, let's say. But what coaches can do to help them, to help their students or their athletes, is to be really consistent and to be as much about the growth arc as anything else. And if you can ground it in a high regard for the person. So consistency first. So I know what I'm getting over time.
Yeah.
And because if you tell me socially, or you're acting for social whatever, but you're really angry inside, like it's going to come out at some time.
Yeah.
If you're saying the right thing because you don't, I don't know, want someone to overhear it, or you don't want to crush a kid, but you're really angry, that inconsistency is very dangerous. So figuring out for yourself how to be really consistent, authentically consistent over time is important. And if you're a yeller, yell. But if you do it with a high regard for the other person, okay, now we got some magic in there. It's the regard for the person, it's the consistency of self, and it's the commitment to growth. And if what you're really good at is serve receive, and you can put a plan together for the kid. Look, on average, you're about 50% on serve receive, and you don't have to be data driven, at a deep level, but
Sure.
but like have a plan for the skills that you're good at for the kid to get better, and you commit to that growth arc. And ideally, in a perfect world, there is none, in an idyllic world, let me say it better,
Yeah.
is that the head coach or the coach would say, and the assistant coach would say, okay, look, serve, receive, serve, hitting, passing, and a handful of mental skills we're going to get better at. And I don't know how to teach these mental skills, but so the club is bringing somebody in. I want to make sure we're doing it. And or there's this little book. It's called Mind Gym. And I want to make sure everybody reads Mind Gym. Gary Mack wrote it like in early 80s. And it's good. It sits on my son's table next to his bed. It's a simple little book to read. Okay.
Sure.
FOPO is a little bit more complicated. It's more for adults or young teenagers. So anyways, so you see where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
So those are the three pillars: consistency, growth, and high regard for the person.
Yeah.
Now, how do you do the high regard? Support, then challenge them. Support first. And how do you support somebody? Like, I probably don't need to explain that. Like, we're just care for them, and don't be a jerk. We got enough of them in their world. And so we don't need the person who spends the most amount of time with the kid to be a jerk. Most people don't want to be jerks. No one that I know sees themselves as the villain in their story. So they blame their state or their behavior on other people. And that's why we want to do a study of self in a rich way, so that we can be just a little bit better, even when we get triggered. Just be a little bit more the person we want to be.
I forget what basketball coach it was, but he's in the NBA, and he was interviewed, and he was like, you know what I'm sick of? Coach is saying, my team can't learn this, or this player can't. He's like, that's coaching. So it's like
coaching.
What we signed up for is being in that with them, and just coming from that love first.
So Coach Carroll, he says something to me. It was like almost, I don't know, day 3, working with the Seahawks. And he had this really vibrant way about him. And he says, okay, Mike, athletes don't know as much as you think. They're still 22 and 24. Some of them are like 30 something, but they don't know as much as you think. So here, I want to make sure that, like, if you want to talk to an athlete, that you don't put a note on the locker that says, hey, let's grab some time later. Like, you might put that there, and if they don't show up, you go find them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I said, are you saying that to like me for some reason? He goes, no, I just want to make sure everyone knows that, like, we go to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like it's that, like, that's
cool.
that's our job.
Yeah.
Is to meet them where they are, hold an image of what better could look like, help them calibrate what that idea really is. Like, they might have a bigger idea that we might have, but like, what does better look like? And then make a contract. Is it this? Is this what we think, like, we could work together towards, like this? And they go, no, bigger. Or, whoa, really? You think I could do that this year? Yeah, I do. And you get the two of you to agree on using your imagination. So it's so clear that you can get the fabric of what that could be, and then you back each other on it. You're like, all right, this is what we're working on. And hey, do you mind, Courtney, if I write a little plan together of like the skills that I think we got to work on? I think by half season or mid season, like I think it would be this and this and this. What do you think? By mid season, we could get to that. You really think I could do that, Coach? Oh yeah, I think based on if we really apply ourselves, I think so. You know that I'm shorthanding a lot of the process, but
when I look at great folks that are really like pushing the boundaries of what's possible for themselves. That's how I will define that. They have this ability to override, and I'm tired, but I'm going to go anyway. My thoughts are everywhere, but I'm gonna hold space to meditate. And then there's this other side of the coin of a deep inner knowing and this trust of self and intuition of like, oh wait, this is what I had intellectually on the plan, but actually today I need this. And I think the best of the best toggle between both. So my question is, and we get asked a lot, hey, these kids are taking like mental health days and we love that, but also how do we help them be gritty? So if you're thinking about a young person, whether you're a parent or a coach, how do you help foster gritty and override, but also this like trust of self and listening? Because I think we miss a lot in our society.
I love this conversation because I am concerned. It sounds like maybe parts of your community are concerned about staying in it when it's hard, and all right, so let's open this up a bit because it's not clean. If you, Courtney, could observe all of a young person's activities for a week, and you were with them from morning, from getting up to going to sleep. So you were the one that had a picture of volume and intensity. You had an understanding of the operating system, their psychology, and how hard they were working to be in stressful environments, or how skilled they were that it was actually kind of easy to be in these challenging environments. So it's volume and intensity. And then you're the adult and you've got a rich understanding of like, what it would take to have this vision of what's possible actually become close to a reality. And you were holding regard for the person, okay? That you would be pretty well suited to say, right, I know you're tired today. Today we grind. Deal with it, right? You got to work with this now. Yeah. Today we grind, okay? And in a different snapshot, if you're like, my God, are you kidding me? This person has not slept well, and they're really tired, and they're showing up the best they can, but like they're not thinking very well, and they've got this drama socially that it's been more taxing than I think anyone would imagine. Yeah. Hey, listen, I think do you feel tired? How do you feel? And then they go and then they calibrate or whatever, and you could help toggle them just a little bit, like you would know better where to back off. Sure. That takes time, but nobody has that full look of the child. So the coach gets them for 3 hours twice a week, or 2 hours, 3 times, whatever the number is, right? Like the coach gets them there, and they don't really know what's happened the 6 hours before. They don't know how much they've slept. How many coaches know if your kid is getting 9 hours of sleep a night, and if they're eating organic vegetables, and if they are, the family's falling apart, that we don't know. So we're unequipped to answer that question, right? All of us are. Yeah. And we're operating from the model our generation and our parents gave us. We are recognizing that the now generation is doing something different. Thank goodness. They actually need to. There's a reason all of those health indicators are unfavorable right now, because the way we've been doing it has not been working. So where's my position on this? I hold in great esteem the competitiveness required to live a great life. And I'm not talking about getting on the podium necessarily. A great life, like a high performing life. I hold that competitiveness and that straining and striving in high esteem. And I equally hold recovery as much as anyone would. So if you're a parent, you have a better snapshot than anyone else. And if you're nervous that your kid's not going to work hard enough, I would ask you to double click and make sure that you're basing it on what you're actually seeing, based on what they're actually experiencing, versus what your parents told you, or the fear that you're bringing in that the world's going to run by them if they don't try hard.
Yeah.
And I'll ground it in one. I'm not saying anything that's revolutionary here, but I want to say something. Courtney, give me a little bit of like grace here in what I'm about to say, because it's going to sound almost gross for a minute.
Sure.
So in the world of sports psychologists, like I get a lot of unique opportunities, and I get pulled into some amazingly high achieving environments. So, and I love it. And the combination has got me pretty good,
Yeah.
and that sounds gross when I say it out loud, but I just want to kind of objectively say, like, no, like I've been doing it a long time. I feel pretty competent at it, and I've done some amazing stuff with people. And I failed high school psychology.
Did you really?
Yeah, I keep that report card. I have it.
That's
It's in my, there's this, it's called the DSM manual, and it's the manual, like the psychological Bible, if you will, for all psychological conditions.
Yeah.
I got to show it to you next time you're in the office. And I keep my F report card in there. The dean of my high school pulled my girlfriend at the time, now wife, aside and says, "Why is a nice girl like you dating Gervais?" I was a disaster, Courtney. I don't know how much of this, like how much of this, but like I was a disaster. So I say that there's time. I went to community college and then graduated from one of the most esteemed PhD programs in sports psychology on the planet. So my parents were freaking out, and they'd say, "Mike, what are you doing with your life?" "I'm going surfing." "Where's that taking you?" "I don't know. Back up." "I don't know." Like, what do you care? I was a jerk, And so I say that because we don't know how this thing goes. I have no idea. And so I do know that when you love somebody and you hold them in the highest regard you possibly can, you really know them and you challenge them and you trust them. One of the great things my parents did do for me is they said, "Okay, run your experiment, do your thing, good luck, Mike." Like, really, we mean that. Good luck.
Wow.
And so I moved out when I was really young, and it was not a pretty scenario. And so, and I had no turning back. And so I share all of that because most of us didn't have a glide path, and we see our kids and we're worried that they're not going to take advantage of what we're giving them, but they've got to figure it out. And so boundaries, rules, asking a lot of questions to help them be tuned to their inner life. You as the adult doing your psychological work, go do your work too. Those are some of the breadcrumbs that I would suggest to other people. There's time, love people, ask a lot of questions, and do your own inner work.
What's coming up for me is how often we talk about unknowns and the anxiety that brings up. And yet everything that's beautiful in life is on the other side of a deep unknowing and lack of control, which is like the worst, but also so great. But I remember, I don't know if you remember this, when I got cut from 2 World Cup teams.
I do.
I was so bummed. And the second time I got cut early in the day, and it was one of the days you were around the gym, and you were like, "Hey, you're right?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk." And then we see each other in the hallway, and then the gym, and then the training, and you're like, "Hey, come over." We'd been in it a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, not it.
Not here, not now. It's too much. Yeah.
Either we crossed in the parking lot, like late in the day. And I just remember this line of questions. You were like, "What's going on for you?" I'm like, "I'm pissed. I'm this." You're like, "Yeah, get it out." And you have such a balance of like a regard of the intensity and care that we have for what we're doing. And yet this perspective of like what you just said, we don't know how this is going to go. And in that moment, you're like, okay, when's the last time you felt this way? And I think I dropped some F-bombs like 4 years ago. This damn thing happened again, and blah, blah. You're like, And then what happened? I was like, I got pissed, I got better. Okay, and then what happened? Cool. And, and just like helping me kind of connect the dots, and you go, and it was like, and what do you want to do now?
That's it.
What are you gonna be about? And I was like, God damn it, Mike.
Yeah, come on. I just want to get my heart pound. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right.
But it's cool, and I love that you're challenging people to like invest in themselves, because it is impossible to do that for someone else if you don't have the space.
Yeah, no, you can. I think leadership is the inner light that you bring to everything you do is so bright that people around you are like, what is that? That's amazing. And I just want to be around that person. Yeah. That's what real leadership is. And then they try to generate some clarity about how they think the future could go if we did things, in a really kind of excellent way. And they bring a sense of energy into a room, and they know how to get results. Like leaders do know how to get results, but like there's just this inner vibrance, which you have. And so it's like people just want to be around it. And so if you decoded, Courtney, how you're able to have and bring fire to your life, like how do you do it? What are your practices? What are the principles that you work from?
Honestly, community. I love how you said that earlier, and I can think of times I got my ass kicked in a relationship late, like mid-30s. I'm thinking this is the one, and I was just in it for a long time. And I remember crying to Nicole Davis, who works Finding Mastery. We competed together. Mm-hmm. And she listened for hours and was just in it with me. And then she goes, well, Court, you went for it. And this is kind of what you do. Like this is who you are. And I feel so grateful for our community, because we respect being in it enough to get your ass kicked.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, that sounds just like Nicole. And right? and so what do you value? Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is very, very powerful is to know your first principles. So your first principles rest on your values. So what do you really value in life? And then if you were able to stitch a couple of those together in like some first principles to work from, and I explain that in a minute. And then if you were so ambitious that you could write it down in a sentence or two, like all of my first principles get reduced down to this personal philosophy, if you will. So it starts with knowing your values. And then on top of that, those first values, if you open them up a little bit, like a value of kindness, let's say, now open it up and put it to a sentence that makes sense to you, and then you've got a bunch of sentences now, call them first principles, that ladder directly to core values. Okay, I'm saying the same thing in different ways. And then you take all of those first principles and collapse them into one personal philosophy. And our friend group really does value being in it.
Yeah.
In uncomfortable, in unknown outcome situations, in pouring yourself into it. And when you're in a hard moment and you go, and sometimes we need somebody outside of us to go, hey, what were your core values that you with a calm, rational mind that you really committed to? Oh, yeah. Let me think. Geez, why am I so foreign from those in this moment? Oh, it's because emotions are just kind of running the show. Wait, hold on. What are my values? Oh, yeah, going for it. And Nicole says, hello.
Yeah.
To go for it. Yeah, to go for it means that you're vulnerable. And to be vulnerable means that you're flexing a courageous life. And really in a very deep level, not to be esoteric in any kind of way, but I don't know how this conversation is going to go. I don't know what I'm about to say. I don't know what's going to happen next in my life, like literally the next nanosecond. So if I can just kind of give into the unfolding moment and really trust that I'll do my best. I'll do my best, and I'm a little bit better when I'm around you, Courtney. I'll do my best to bring the best of me forward. And I'm not going to get it perfect, but I'm going to do my best. Then I'm like practicing striving But I did not have this locked up as a young kid. I didn't know it. And I don't think anyone could have taught it explicitly, but the ones that lived it, I was like, man, they're amazing. Wow, how did they go for it?
Yeah.
They care more about something and less about something else. Yeah.
Man, I know we only got a few minutes left. And I want to ask you these 2 questions. And genuinely, I think we could do a whole 3-hour podcast on just this. But I'm curious, you read us or showed us the poem by Araya, The Invitation, when we were on
Araya Mountain Dreamer,
Ooh.
The Invitation. Oh.
So good. So good. And I'm curious, at the risk of being intense, but we like that around here sometimes. What do you, in everything that you have going in the purposeful life that you live and you've created for yourself and other people, like, what are you longing for now?
Oh, I mean, you're pulling one of the great quotes from her stanza. I do want to encourage people just to go check out her poem, Araya Mountain Dreamer. I think she's a special one, and I think you're referring to the first couple lines. It doesn't matter. No, I'm sorry. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for.
Yeah.
What your heart's longing. I've spent most of my adult life on the razor's edge of iron sharpens iron. And that forged in fire, trusted, steely, highly skilled, artistically expressed command. That's been kind of my approach. And the last handful of years, I knew that I was like a little bit too much of a forged in fire, steel on steel, sharp edge, approach. And I know I don't come off that way, Court. Like I know I have more warmth than what that sounds like. But really that's like my internal approach. So a handful of years ago, what I really needed was more playfulness in my life. And I've made a fundamental commitment to play more. But what I'm longing for and what I ache for is for my wife to really to be great for my wife. She has sacrificed and given so much to my dreams. And she was a world-class dancer and cut that short when because she cared more about our relationship than the ambition to be on the world stage. And I mean, she danced with some of the best in the world. And I cared more about the pursuit of my career at that time than the relationship. It sounds so shitty to say it, but and she's just a great partner. Yeah. She's epic. Who I know you know her.
She's the best.
She's the best. She's radical. And so I just want, what I ache for is to repay, to pay forward, to be great for my wife. And so that's where I'm really committed to. And so that's a super private thing I just made very public with you and your listener.
Yeah, thank you.
And so that's what I ache for.
I think we got to wrap there.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Everything else feels a little reductive. And thank you, Mike. I have so much love for you, so much respect for you. And I know how precious your time is. So this is awesome.
Courtney, feelings mutual. You are a special human, and I'm grateful for all the time we've spent. And I have incredible love for you as well. And so thank you for challenging me in the way that you've helped me be better. And thank you for including me in your community here. And you're striving to be one of the best in the world, but really you're very best in volleyball. It's awesome. And there's so much more for us to do. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Also, just putting it out there, we got to go surfing together.
It's coming.
Officially.
Isn't it coming?
It's going to happen.
This is coming. I know. It's coming. All right, cool. I'm down.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, everyone.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in to the Beyond the Court podcast. And special thanks to our guest, Dr. Michael Gervais, for joining us today. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next episode where we chat with Sue Inquist. Sue is one of the most vibrant people you will ever hear from. She won 11 softball national championships at UCLA over her very storied 27-year coaching career. She was also, more recently, the culture coach for USA Volleyball when they went on to win their first ever gold medal in Tokyo. To learn more about League One Volleyball, follow us on Instagram at LOVB. And in the meantime, keep working hard, having fun, and go on and spread the love today. All right, we'll see you next time.